All right, traders, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Thursday, November 19th. Theme of the day right in front of you. I'm being a little bit funny here, but yeah, it was kind of a lot of momentum names really got going today, and even while for the majority of the day, the indices weren't really moving that much, but yeah, the momentum names they saw momentum for the day. So yes, bad joke. For the overall performance for the day, SPY was up about a 0.5%. But again, if you kind of look in this column over here, which again I have it sorted from percentage change from open, we saw some nice positive movement from the open to the close. So we don't normally see that, right? I always talk a lot about the overnight moves and so forth, but every once in a while you get a nice range bound day. Sorry, not range bound, a nice trending day, and it kind of felt like we had that today with the Qs rallying, a percent throughout the day, and there was your strong performance. Also, the IWM kind of crept up there too, and you could see a couple of sectors like here, like energy names, right? So let's just kind of look at this first, and but just kind of sneaky again that the small caps are still kind of maintaining some strength here. Right around midday, they kind of got going there, right? So they're besides everything moving down yesterday. And then of course XOP, which I wasn't really watching this group today, but energy made a pretty darn good move there from the lows of the day, and even though this version point of control is taken out, they're still they're still hanging in there a bit. So I want to talk about the overall price action in the S&P because I spent a while talking about that the last couple days, and then we'll talk about the trading activity and some other moves. Of course, software was a big group today. Up at one point up 2% for the day. Still finished strong, 1.8%. Retail was strong. Chinese internet names did well today. Also, U.S. internet names did well today. And clean energy again up 3.6%. So that's what I mean by momentum, right? If you look in that ETF, the PBW ETF, you got a lot of small energy names like and you could see names like KNDI, a few of, no, I was going to say Plug, but I don't think Plug was huge today. Solo has been another name. So anyway, let's talk about the price action in the indices first, because really I kind of laid this out in terms of separating a little bit the noise that we're seeing on the tape with just some levels to watch, right? In my opinion, it's a lot easier to just be trading off of levels and make decisions based on what price is telling you, rather than, hey, what do you think this is going to happen with the news or that news, and what does the market think of this or that? Well, if you've got some nice concrete levels to trade off of, then I think that's a little bit better. But I mentioned in last night's video that we broke into value, and it was going to be either a situation here that we retook it, or we're going to make our move to the bottom of value. So that's not out of the cards, by the way, that we do that we visit down here, and it's really not that big of a move. So overall, I'm not that concerned about it, but just interesting that we're kind of right around this. I don't. And are we selling off here a little bit? Oh, maybe just a little bit into tomorrow's top of value, but. Yeah, so I mean, I think with what the indices are telling us right now, right, as we close for the day at the top of value, we're kind of at a little bit of an at a decision point. Could we get more chop in front of us? Could we retake? You could also see this 200 period moving average, which I referred to a lot on this 1 hour chart. We're right there. Whether or not we're going to continue to go higher, or we'll see a dip, and possibly that dip gets bought. And I kind of outlined that today. If we do, if we cannot stay above 35.72, then I would watch for some levels down here, because this 3501, around there lines up with the top of value on the daily chart. So again, if that's going to hurt you a lot, if we do move down to, let's say, 3501 or 3496, make sure that you're positioned appropriately for that, and make some adjustments, So that's kind of the thought that, and I always kind of look at the downs levels first, because, if you're familiar with really great traders and investors like Paul Tudor Jones, they always talk about what they could lose first. They're always worried about the risk, right? And I always like to mix in sports analogies, and my opinion is defense. What you hear a lot about, for football teams that win the Super Bowl, defense wins Super Bowls, right? So I kind of think of it the same way, right? If you always have an eye on how much you could lose versus how much you can make, you're positioned a little bit tighter, a little bit better, and I think. For me, that makes a lot of sense. All right, so that's some things to watch, and I'll repeat these levels just one more time so that you know. But 35.70 top of value, and we'll see what happens in the after hours market. I would like to see us get back above there. If we do break down, it's not going to be the end of the world for me. I've been taking a lot of, trying to sell into strength. Today was a great day to do that. Today was also a great day, like if you've had a couple positions that aren't working well, you could kind of sell into those, because I think for the most part, a lot of traders had some pretty good days today, or a lot of traders had a pretty good day today. Let me say that correctly. All right, so I wanted to give you as well, like a little bit of a glimpse into what we do at Tribeca Trade Group. I don't put a lot of what we do all day long, in the room on Twitter, right? I probably put a fraction of what goes on in our trading room on Twitter. And when I do post some things, they're usually late because, again, I'm posting them in our room first, right? Because, that's important to do. We've got a lot of paying members of Tribeca Trade Group, really great members who've been following amazing trades. But my priority is there first. Twitter is, much further second. So one of the first things that I did today was I put on, so kind of thinking, going into today being a little bit neutral, saying, hey, I'm going to watch price action, but I do a lot of my homework in the after hours when the market's closed. So I have this channel in Slack, and again, we use Slack because it's probably one of the best systems to use in terms of managing a trading room, because you could really make it customizable. But when I was going through charts last night, I saw, a lot of names that really weren't setting up that well in terms of names that have run pretty hard, like transports, industrials, material names. Like those names kind of cooled off a little bit and might need a little bit of digestion. But I started to see some setups and things like Crowd. I was like, hey, Crowd actually got into value and is above all the short-term moving averages. So that was one of the first trades that we talked about, and I traded this morning. Basically right off the 5-minute bar, which I don't like to do that a lot of times, but this worked very well from how this set up. Again, just a couple bars that got into value, right? That's that's confirmation for me. And then that kind of ran. And then a couple other names too that I put in here. I said, oh, we'll keep an eye on this Neo. But Okta was another name too. I said, hey, if this Okta gets going, people kind of overlooked this name a little bit, but you could see this name had a nice day today, up 3.9%. MDB was another name too that some traders traded in the room. But TTD, this one, I actually traded this one today, but I had a problem in E-Trade and they were not giving me my fill back. But that was a name that we set up too. In the pre-market session. So we have a pre-market session every morning. And you could see this thing, once it closed above on the 1 hour bar, 765. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at this wrong. This name came, rallied earlier in the week. And then what I liked about this is it kind of just sat back here a little bit into support for the week. And then on the 5-minute bar was where the trigger came for the day. Right off that first 5-minute bar, and really kept going till about for an hour, just kept on cooking. So this was a nice little trade for me. But again, by the time I got the report back from E-Trade, it was showing me an execution report, but it wasn't showing up in my account. So, every once in a while you get a glitch like that. So again, all things that we kind of set up Roku too is another one. I did not get a chance to trade. And this is what happens when everything starts to move very fast. But Roku had an amazing day, out to new highs too. So that was another name that we talked about in the pre-market session at Tribeca Trade Group. What really helps too. And again, in a day like this, it doesn't matter how many alerts and how much homework you've done. You just can't trade every single one of these. But the alert to set for the day was down at 236, and that broke right away and launched higher. So yeah, I would have liked to trade this one. W was a nice trade today too. This was brought to my attention by a member just on the first 1 hour bar, got into value and really was a really nice trending day. Now I didn't hold this thing for the whole day. I was happy with profits, just like we saw like in TDD, which kind of stalled out about an hour after the open. But this name just continued to kind of go, to go along here. Yeah, and I got out. How long did I hold this thing for? Not very long. I got out of it here. TDOC was a nice trade from yesterday. Day traded that one and held it last night because the CEO was on Kramer. Didn't really get going until later, but this is a nice chart. And look at where this thing got to, by the way, right to the top of value resistance for the day. So again, MarketWeb's giving you a great roadmap. By the way, look at that 1 hour VPOC that was taken out last week. Nice reversal off of that. We've talked a lot about those the last few days. Ring, and I'm still in this one. So again, days like this are really nice when you have a trending day because you could take that money and put it in your pocket, and you don't have to carry risk. And then if you want to on some trades, like this trade to me is compelling. It still has more work to do. But remember, Ring had good earnings, popped on earnings, and then you had all this kind of low volume pullback. And so I'm going to try to be a little bit patient here with Ring and look for a move out of this. I like when you've got, again, a nice uptrend and then a good decent amount of consolidation in here. So I'm looking for this thing to break out to new highs. Datadog, that was a name that I restructured earlier in the week. I took that trade off. So again, this thing, I didn't like how this thing kind of it gave back too much of the gains for the day, right? If I had a full green bar, then I would have held on to it. But I didn't like how this thing just gave back a little bit too much. So that's fine. That was ended up being a nice profitable trade on the management. AMD puts this trade on, I think it was Monday. Small trade for me. This was on Monday. They put AMD on. I did send out a video on Snap too. Again, just felt like a day to kind of try for some breakouts. What I liked about Snap, and again, a lot of times what I'm looking for when I use these time frames, daily and 1 hour, is I look for them to line up. Right? I'm looking for a move out of value, right, which indicates, where there's been a lot of previous volume and where there's been, where a stock has kind of been in a range, even though this is really not indicating that because of this move here. But once a name gets going, that's when I want to kind of go after it, right? Unless it's something like a Wayfair where you're just getting into value, right? And then you can make that 80% rule. Across or through value, but so I did end up taking one target in the Snap trade. Played a little bit of lottos. So again, this was a really nice day. So every time I take a trade, just to kind of give you a glimpse at what happens here, is I put the chart and what my thoughts are on the chart, or even names that I'm watching. We talked about Baba. Baba had to get into value. right? And it did that. So got a little bit of a green light there in BABA. I'm in this name. I did not take any targets. I added back last week on this last version point of control takeout, and then I mentioned that I would add to the position again if the virgin point of control was taken out, which it was not. So for now, I just left the position on that I've got on that I added to once last week. Right. So yeah. So every time I'm looking at these things. Chipotle was another one I was looking at today, which had a nice day. Actually, did not do too much today. I take that back. So that was a good avoid, I guess, for the day. But yeah, every one of these trades that I'm taking, I'm giving a chart set up behind it, right? And you could see that in the Market Web's chart setup. So if you're a member of Tribeca Trade Group, make sure that you put alerts on. You go into your preferences and you go ahead and put on an alert for both, the Market Web chart setups channel as well as the trades, so that they come up like an alert on your phone. That's how you can do that. All right, guys. So that's it for today. I guess just final thoughts going into tomorrow is that I think that for the rest of the year, we could see this kind of what I like to refer a little bit as back and forth price action, right? Some days, maybe we see a little bit more choppiness. Some days we see a little bit of rotation into some other groups until, with the COVID headlines, I think that we're going to continue to see different groups get rotated into and rotated out of. One other thing that I wanted to mention too was bonds. They were up 0.5%. They've been strong this week, so might be something going on here that's a little bit concerning. One of the things that I said a couple of days ago is like, hey, we could probably come up and retest. Sometimes we see that once we break below value, sometimes we see a retest and then a fail and we go back this way. However, bonds are really strong right now, so it's kind of telling you that, it's telling me that I want to do those things where taking more targets versus less, and just making sure that I'm being cognizant of where my risk is, how much I've got, and and if you're having a nice month, and as far as October is going, I'll tell you what's helped me a lot this year is several times. I think I've done this 4 or 5 times this year when the market has been pretty good to me, and I'm hitting trades like I did today, like 4 or 5 different trades. I take some money out of my account, right? I take some money out of my trading account, and that saved me a bunch of times this year. I did it in January remember the beginning of the year, the market went ballistic. I took profits out of my account then, and I did that as well in August. I think that in the month of August I did that twice, right? So if you're having a really good month, be mindful of that. And, it's helped me a lot in terms of management. It's a little bit cheating, right, to take money out of your trading account like that. But, if you're super disciplined, then you don't need to do that. If you're super disciplined and don't get tempted, don't get FOMO, which everybody seems to be getting right now, then, that's the way to do it. All right, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.